Welcome to a new video. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my weaponized toys, or should I say Speedroid, deck profile. This is a very fun deck, and I'm having a lot of really fun with it. And finally enough, this week, not planned, we actually got revealed the, that Speedroids are going to get support in Legendary Duelist, which is really cool. Now, this deck already have some really cool things that it can do, which I'm going to share with you, but I am actually interested to see where it's going to go with it. But before we jump right into the list itself, I'm going to basically say thank you all for reaching 2,200 subscribers. Basically that was really quickly from 21, so I'm very happy and thank you all. And if you're new to the channel, I'm going to remind you the usual thing that a subscriber a day keep the depression away. So if you want to help the channel and actually enjoy this video and it's your first time, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's helped the channel a lot. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video itself. Alright, so let's jump right into the list itself. And start things off with the Speedroids. I'm going to start off with the 3-offs of triple copies of Marble Machine, triple copies of Card Turbo, and then the triple copies of Takitomborg, which got stuck in my hand for a second, but here it is, triple copies of Takitomborg. Now, these three are your free offs and basically the most important cards in your deck. All of these as well just kind of like lock you into Wind in some kind, shape, or form. So in this deck specifically, you're just playing Wind main deck and Wind extra deck, and then just like bunch of Wind extenders, because that's how the deck works. So you just lock yourself into Wind. In the case of Marble Machine, it's basically a normal summon kit allowing you to add to your hand any Speedroid that you want to your hand, including itself, but mostly you're going to add one of your other extenders. It is a Pendulum monster, which is a shame, because it's going to the extra deck, but not, and then you cannot use it as a resource. But it's still level 2, it's still a card that just helps you with consistency, and you don't really care about its Pendulum effect, you just care about it being just a nice, very nice searcher, and it's a very nice addition for the archetype when it came out. Also, one thing to mention is that this and another Wind extender is a double Crystal Wing, which is really powerful, just to mention that. Then, in case of Card Turbo and Takitomborg, both of them share the same effect that if you control a Wind monster, you special summon them. Card Turbo also have another effect in the graveyard that can banish itself and another Speedroid to basically boost all of your Wind monsters by 800 attack until the end of the turn, which is very nice for OTKs. But mostly, you care about it, it's a tuner, it special summon itself, it's great. In the case of Takitomborg, like I mentioned, is a free special summon just like this, but unlike Card Turbo, which is something that should be mentioned, that Takitomborg can only special summon itself once per turn, not only by its own effect. So if you use a Monster Reborn to revive a Takitomborg and you have another one in your hand, because you special summoned already a Takitomborg, you cannot use the effect of the one in hand to special summon itself again and then save yourself the normal summon. But this card is still really good because of its effect to tribute itself and summon any Speedroid tuner out of your deck, which either will going to be Card Turbo or Dendendaikoduk, which is one of the other cards which we're going to cover up right now. And speaking of Dendendaikoduk, I run 2 copies of it, as well as the 1 copy of Plane, 1 copy of Yo-Yo, and then the 1 copy of Terratop. These are your basically your other not 3-offs. Terratops is because of the fact that he's at 1, he's still limited, he's absolutely insane. If you control the monster, special summon it and then search any Speedroid. And absolutely crazy about this guy is that by itself it's double Crystal Wing. Double Yo-Yo and Rubber Plane are basically the 2-offs that you search with your Link monster with its searching effect, depending on the Link monster that you banish. Plane is when you special summon a monster, you get to special summon this out of your hand. And that's actually a really nice extender. In the case of Double Yo-Yo, you mostly want it for a later turn because Double Yo-Yo allowing you to normal summon it, and then you get to revive a level 3 or lower Speedroid monster out of your graveyard, which is really nice to either a Link 2 or a level 7 Synchro, but mostly you care about it to be like a nice just search for later down the line, or, anything else. You don't really care about this to open up this in your opening hand unless your combos are really weird. In the case of Dendendaikoduk, this is the other tuner, and mostly the tuner that I like to summon with Takitomborg, which we'll get to it when we'll get to the extra deck, why more I like to summon this. But this guy, in the graveyard, allowing you to banish itself and then special summon out of your hand or graveyard another Speedroid tuner except itself. So basically you just banish it and summon out of your graveyard the Card Turbo, which is pretty important to mention. But that's pretty much does it for the Speedroid names. Then we'll move on into the wind helpers, I guess. And for the wind extenders and helpers, I run triple copies of Wind, the Wind Channeler, and the triple copies of Red Hasty Horse. Then I also run the 1 copy of Denatarium, the 1 copy of Nyan, the 1 copy of Snowbell, and then the 1 copy of Warbloom. Now, in the case of Wen specifically, which I'm not going to, I'm going to mention pretty quickly, you just basically discard her and another Wind, and then you get to add to your hand any Wind monster with 1500 attack or less to your hand, which is pretty crazy. So you can basically either add to your hand a Marble Machine or a Taketomborg or whatever you want specifically. This is basically 3 off copies of almost everything, which is absolutely crazy. And then it's also have a nice effect that it's in the hand, I guess, that you get to special summon it out of your hand if a Wind monster is basically get destroyed by battle. But mostly you just care about the first effect. You discard it in another Wind, and you search whatever you need, which is pretty great. Now, it does sound like a neg, but that neg is actually pretty good because you can also search hand traps and stuff like that if you're playing Draws and Mourner. But mostly, this is just a searcher for your Terratop or your Marble Machine, which is pretty powerful. Then Red Hasty Horse is just a really great card. You just special summon it just like nothing if cards are not in a certain column. And then it's also just a level 5. It's just a great extender. You can also run the Butterfly, the primitive Butterfly, I think the name is, or whatever that is. But I like Red Hasty Horse a little bit more than that, because its level is also just really great. Then for the one-offs, which a lot of people are probably going to ask me why I don't run 2 Denatarium, or why I just decide to run 1, and 1. In these cases, I just don't want to see multiple copies of each. In the case of Denatarium, it's just a special summon out of your hand, and honestly, if you do that, your opponent can target 1 level 4 or lower monster in either player's graveyard and special summon it. So this one is the one that you just want to see at game 1, or should I say turn 1, and nowhere else, because afterward, this card will become absolutely garbage, because then your opponent will just special summon something out of their graveyard for free. So just to mention that, I only need to see the 1 if I see it. In the case of Nyan, I decided to go with Nyan rather than getting 2 of these, because like I said, I don't want to get this and then have another copy and just do nothing with it. But because of Nyan is great because she's just another nice normal summon. Because if you open up her and another wind extender, you're set to go. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, but she's just great. Because of the fact that she's able to special summon herself out of the graveyard once you special summon your Auroradon tokens, after everything you did that you already linked and everything, she becomes either a tuner, and then banish itself and return something back, or she just becomes a rank 3 material that you can continue rotating around every time that you summon a level 3, which this deck have a lot. And also, she's good with emergency teleport, which is also pretty great. But like I said, she's also not really a bad normal summon. She's definitely worse than, normal summoning Marble Machine, but she's not terrible, and that's why I like her. And then in the case of Snowbell, is because I wanted another tuner extender rather than anything else, because this deck doesn't really have a whole lot of tuners. You only have 6, counting for those everything beside Warbloom and the hand traps. And Nyan effect in the graveyard, so technically you only have 6 with the 5 Speedroid tuners, and this one's also allowing you to fix stuff if you basically have the levels that you need. So that's why I decided to go with Snowbell. If you don't want to go with Snowbell and you want a second copy of this or another hand trap, or you want to just change these 3 around, they're up to you, as well as the emergency teleport, which I run in the spells, but honestly I like these as one-offs each because they're doing their job. And then for Warbloom, this is my Auroradon target because we need the tuner for the combo, which you will see at the end. You can always go with Blue Impala or Coltwing if you prefer, but because this is a tuner, it's great. Also, I want to ask in the comments down below if anybody knows why every time that I'm using this, for a summon of a Synchro Machine, it still doesn't really summon me the tuner, or should I say the token back. I don't know why it doesn't do that. It mostly isn't really necessary to get the token back, so you don't really need it for the combo, but I am interested to know why every time I'm using it for a Synchro Summon, I'm not getting the token back. So that's something that really interested me. But that's pretty much does it for the Wind Extenders, and these are the one that I decided to go with. And now I'm going to show you the hand traps. And for the hand traps, I run triple copies of Draw and Lockbird, triple copies of Ash Blossom, double copies of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, and then the one copy of Ghost Ogre. This is a very, very weird hand trap lineup, but I want to explain it because it's actually pretty important to understand. The Ghost Ogre is not here to be a hand trap. It's here in your hand if you open up with this card right here, and you already draw the Nyan Nyan. If you draw into the Nyan Nyan, you want to have another target in your deck that essentially does the job. So that's the reason why I run the Ghost Ogre. You don't have to run it specifically if you just cut that, so you can always just like change this to something else. But because I run the Emergency Teleport, I understand it's a very, very good extender, and sometimes I do draw it in the Nyan Nyan, I want the other copy in my deck. Plus, if you draw into it, it's not the worst of hand traps. In the case of Ghost Spell, basically just like one of the better hand traps. Ash Blossom, it's just the best hand trap around, and basically draw in Lockbird because it's a wind hand trap. Now, if I had Ghost Murder, I would probably just cut these two and the Ash Blossom to run 3 of it, because Ghost Murder is a wind hand trap, and it works with this card right here. Sometimes you do need to discard your hand trap, and you don't open up with anything else to essentially do your play. So that's why when I'm going to get Ghost Murder in the future, I am probably going to change the hand traps around to just be wind hand traps. But for the most part, these do what they need to do. Plus, Droll is not the worst in the format right now. Ash is always great. This is just good in the format, and this is because Emergency Teleport, which I'm going to mention again. But that's pretty much does it for the monsters. A very heavy chunk of monsters. Then for the spells, you don't really run any lineup of spells. I'm just going to show those really quickly and just explain them. Basically, free speed recovery, which is your only 3 off, and then 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 1 copy of Emergency Teleport, 1 copy of Foolish Burial, and 1 copy of Harpy Feather Duster. This is the lineup of spells that I decided to run. And these are the only spells that you have or traps. This is just these 7. So just to explain you how crazy this deck is in case of monsters, you just run like a huge chunk. In the case of Harpy Feather Duster, should be pretty obvious against back row decks. Foolish Burial, you're either going to dump the Nyan Nyan, or the Denden Daikoduke, or whatever you need specifically. Mostly these two options, Denden Daikoduke and Nyan Nyan, so then you get the ability to Foolish what you need specifically for the situation, which is great. Emergency Teleport is just, like I said, summon Nyan Nyan or Ghost Ogre if you draw into the Nyan Nyan, so that's actually pretty good for that. And then these 4 are just Monster Reborns. Now, in case of Speed Recovery, however, it's not a hard once per turn, which is crazy, and even more, like even better than that, that its effect in the graveyard is also not a hard once per turn. You do need to wait a turn for that, but the fact that you're able to recycle, let's say you draw into 3 of these and you activate them all, and then there are 3 sitting in your graveyard, you can recover 3 cards to your hand back, which making this card absolutely ridiculous. So this is just another extender in a way, and that's why we're running 3 copies of it. But that's pretty much does it for the spells and for anything else, because like I said, the spell lineup is pretty small. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. And for the extra deck, we're going to start with the smaller synchros first, from 5 to 7. And for those, I run 1 copy of Hagoita, 1 copy of Charge Warrior, 1 copy of Juji, and then the 1 copy of Adignister. Now, one thing I would say about these two, before I'll explain anything else, I was supposed to get Reptite, but apparently there was a problem in the order that I ordered, like when I got these cards, because they said to me, like, you know, they give me the cards, but they have a little bit of a problem, so they're going to make me an order that returns the cards, or should I say, give me the cards that I actually didn't get in that order because they have a problem in the factory or whatever that is, or like the shop itself when they package everything, so they forgot some of the cards. So I decided to go with Stardust, Charge Warrior, and Juji. Now, you can go with whatever combinations that you want to, either Charge Warrior, Juji, or Reptite, depending on the situation. I mostly prefer Juji and Reptite, but like I said, I'm going with Stardust, Charge Warrior because I don't want a proxy. As for the others, basically Hagoita is part of your combo. If you control Speedroid Tuner, you get to special summon it out of your graveyard. You don't use it for its first effect for the tribute. You don't care about that. You just care about this, making the first Crystal Wing with another level 3. Then it's in the graveyard. You banish the Denden Daikoduke, special summon the card Trooper back. This is in the graveyard, and you have a Speedroid Tuner. Special summon it and make a second Crystal Wing. This is pretty much what it's used for. As for Adignister, This guy is just here because it's just great to send to the graveyard sometimes, or just sometimes to climb into. But mostly it's here because it's a level 7, and it's the best level 7 around for the deck, as well for the fact that you're able to just banish it if you need to banish for double yo-yo. You just banish this, and then you reveal a level 4 and a level 3, and essentially just giving you the ability to search. You mostly don't summon this, but it is just good to have in case of situations. And Juju is actually really good, just to mention this, because this is a really hard monster to remove and can pop stuff, which is pretty great. And this is a draw. So yeah, that's pretty much it for those. Then for the bigger synchros, I run 1 copy of Hammer the Conquering Bow, double copies of Crystal Boy, then 1 copy of, what is his name again? Kite Drake, and 1 copy of Shinshin. Shinshin is level 9, mini so-called Microcosmos. We can run it, why not? You most of the time don't revive this, because mostly you need to revive this with what is the name again? I forgot. Like, you also have like 2 monsters with different attributes and different types. You don't have that unless you use hand traps. So mostly it doesn't really happen, but sometimes it does. So mostly you just care about this being your floodgate. Kite Drake help you break boards going seconds. Absolutely ridiculous. Crystal Wing is your basically present and going first, and then Hammer the Conquering Bow is just basically the combination with these two to just bring those two and wipe up your opponent's entire board, which is absolutely ridiculous. Because if you're going second, you're going with your entire combo normally, make a Kite Drake, wipe the entire board, then summon the Card Turbo, then summon the Agoita, summon this, then basically banish the Card Turbo and another thing. This attack to 7200, boom, and then you basically just wipe your opponent. But if you're going first, you banish this. If you're going second, you banish this or anything else that you feel necessary. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for the synchros. And for the Xyz, I actually run 3, which are Levier the Sea Dragon, Cicada King, and Ghost of Shadow. Honestly, I think I don't need to explain these too much. Levier is just a nice extender. Sometimes you want the Denden Daikudu back, this is giving you that, and sometimes you need to make a rank free, so this is really good for extension. Cicada King is because I don't have Totem Bird, but it's also not really a bad card, and honestly, if you're playing the Battle Wasp engine, you want to have this one in the extra deck anyway, and Bamboozling Gossip Shadow is basically in defense against Nibiru in some combos that you need. Or should I say, like, when you know your opponent going to have a Nibiru, or like you pretty much guess that they're going to have Nibiru in their deck. So that's useful for that. And then for the last 2 cards, or should I say 3 cards, double Rubber Band Shooter, and then 1 Auroradon. Auroradon is because you can summon it, tribute 2 token, summon the Whirlplume, and then in the case of Rubber Band Shooter, you basically have 2 effects. The first effect doesn't really matter most of the time because you lock yourself only for wind synchros, but the second effect is the one that matters, because then you banish any wind synchro out of your extra deck, and then you reveal any, any 2 Speedroids with different levels and different names, or should I say different names, and then your opponent randomly choose 1 for you to add to your hand and the second send to the graveyard. So most of the time, if I'm banishing a level 8, I'm actually adding to my hand either this or this, depending on the opponent, because these are the better ones to add to your hand if you're banishing Hammer the Conquering Bow, because this one, you can just special summon it after you special summon another monster, and this one just a free special summon, and that's way you get yourself a way to not get stuck, rather than other people that I see most of the time just revealing the Denden Daikoduke. Because like I said, this is randomly chosen. So that's something that I want to bring up, because I'm seeing a lot of people making that mistake of just like, oh, we're just going to reveal those 2 cards, and sometimes they're getting Denden Daikoduke to their hand and they cry because it's not that good. But yeah, Rubber Band Shooter, great card, and Auroradon, great card as well. But that's pretty much does it for the deck profile itself. Very, very fun deck. Honestly, nothing really much to say about that. Now, let's jump right into the combo of, 2 cards Crystal Wing, or should I say, like, Marble Machine Extender Crystal Wing. You're going to see what I mean in a second. Welcome to the 2-card combo to show you, like I promised at the start, how to reach double Crystal Wing only with 2 cards. And for this combo specifically, we're going to use Marble Machine and any Wind Extender, but you can also achieve this by having the 1 Terratop. And if you open up with the Terratop, this is achievable with by himself with not any extender. But we're actually going to use this thing, which is Marble Machine and Hasty Horse, because that's a little bit more realistic than open up with the Terratop, because Terratop is still at 1. So that's why I decided to go with this route. But now, let's get started with it. So to start things off, you're going to normal summon your Marble Machine and add to your hand the Takatomborg. We're then going to special summon the Red Hasty Horse by its own effect, and then link these off. This goes to the graveyard, this goes to the extra deck because it's a Pendulum monster. And we're going to summon Rubber Band Shooter. Now we're not going to special summon this yet because of because of a specific effect of one of the monsters that we're going to search with Rubber Band Shooter. Because we are going to banish an 8 with his Hammer the Conquering Bow, because we're going first technically. And then we're going to reveal Plane and Card Turbo. Now this is one thing specific that I want to mention, because I know that there are some players who like to reveal actually Den Daikoduke instead of the Card Turbo. They want to reveal this instead of the Card Turbo, so Den Daikoduke will go to the graveyard. But you're not always guaranteed to get the Den Daikoduke in the graveyard and not in your hand, because your opponent randomly picks one. You're not the one to choose this. So most of the time you actually want to summon the Den Daikoduke out of your Takatomborg. So that's why I decided to go with 2 Wind Extenders, which are better than just like opening it up with just adding to your hand a card that will be just dead. So for what I decided to go with, for this particular combo, let's roll a die. Even will be this, what do you call it? Odd will be that, so let's see what we get. And we got an odd, so that's mean we're going to pick to our hand the Card Turbo and send the Plane to our graveyard. Then we're going to use the effect of Card Turbo because we control wind, special summon it, and then we're also going to use the effect of Takatomborg, special summon it here. And then we're going to use these 2 specifically, not this because we still want this. We're going to use these 2, and we're going to make an Auroradon. Auroradon effect will trigger, giving us 3 tokens, basically. And then, what we're going to do is that we're going to use Auroradon effect, attributing 2 of those tokens to summon out of our deck the Warbloom. Warbloom will then trigger this effect to tribute the Auroradon, and then making itself a level 2. And then we're going to use these 2. This is going to get off the field, and this goes to the graveyard, and we summon Hagoita. Now we're finally going to use Takatomborg effect to tribute itself to special summon out of our deck the Den Daikoduke. Then this is a Synchro, and this is a Tuner. We can use these 2, and we're going to make our first Crystal Wing. Then, because Den Daikoduke is in the graveyard, we're going to banish it and summon out of our graveyard the Card Turbo. And because we control a Speedroid Tuner, we can special summon Hagoita out of our graveyard. And then finally, we're going to use these 2, and we're going to make our second Crystal Wing. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and show you basically the power-up and what you can do with Speedroids. Now, of course, depending on your hand and different things, you can even summon something like, Goose of Bamboozling Shadow. You can summon, this thing, Shen. You can summon even Juji if you need to. Actually, Reptide, if you get Reptide. Like I mentioned before, Reptide, I have a problem with that in the mail, but it should arrive soon. So, Reptide can also be an option. You can summon even Cicada King or Totem Bird. You have a lot of options for what you need to do. But mostly, this is the more basic and easiest one combo to understand. And, that's pretty much it. And, double Crystal Wing out of 2 cards. Or if you open up with this, out of 1 card. So, double Crystal Wing. But that's pretty much does it for that. And now, let's move on into the next deck choices. Alright, so for the next options of deck profiles, well, I have some few that I actually been able finally to get my hands on the cards. And those few options are Dual Avatar and basically Pure Shadows, which are going to be the 2 options that you're able to choose for. Then the third option will be Vendors, which I want to share my new list with it. And the 4th option is going to be, what are they called? Dragon Link. So these are the 4 options, or should I say 4 options for next week. So if you want to choose from any of these, basically let me know in the comments down below what you want to see in next week. Otherwise, basically I'm going to pick up something random. But that's pretty much does it for that, and that's pretty much does it for the video. So hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed the basically Speedroid list in general. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy. And remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.